Let me start this episode with a statement that might annoy some people in the Pokemon hobby. Most people sending cards to PSA right now, or whatever grading service you're using, shouldn't be grading those cards at all. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean the math literally doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math. People are sending cards in because they hope they'll get a 10, not because the lemon is actually worth the squeeze. And that's what I want to break down today. The real math behind grading, the risks people don't talk about, how I evaluate cards personally before I send them in, and why sometimes the smartest move in the hobby is actually just buying the slab. Alright, welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name's Kris, and this is Entei's Inferno, where we talk about the Pokemon hobby from a collector and a vendor perspective. Before we dive in, if you enjoy these conversations, or if anything I say today helps you in the hobby, or maybe you just like my voice, do me a favor and follow the podcast wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Subscribing and following means a lot to me, and it significantly helps the podcast whether you believe it or not. And if you want to talk cards or grading, or anything else in the hobby, you can always find me on Instagram at Entei's_Inferno_TCG. All right, let's talk about grading. Here's the first mistake people make. They send a card to PSA or the grading service and think, if this gets a 10, I'm going to make money. But they never actually do the math. Let's say you buy a card raw for $40. Then grading costs you around $25. And then shipping, insurance, and the supplies to send it, you're realistically around $30 to $35 all in. So now that $40 card now costs you about $75 to send it for grading. Now ask yourself this question. What does the PSA 10 actually sell for? If the PSA 10 is selling for $90, you just risked $35, $75 to make $15. And that's only if it gems. If it comes back a 9, you probably lost money. So before I send anything in, I ask one simple question. Is the lemon worth the squeeze? Because if the upside isn't there, I'm not sending it in. Before you send anything into PSA, by the way, please make sure you check what the gem sold listings are. And the way to do that, there's a few ways, but the main ways are using Alt, which is an app, ALT, or Card Ladder. Those two apps basically take all the recent sales on eBay and they give you what their recent sale price is based off the grade. Now you search up a PSA 10 card, search the recent listings, take an average of the last 5, 6, 7, 3, whatever you want, and that will give you a general estimate of what their market value is. So if you bought a card raw for $60 and it costs about $30 to $35 to send it into grading, you're at about $90. That card is selling for $95 in a PSA 10, and you really want that card, why take the risk? Another thing people don't talk about enough is sometimes the smartest move in the hobby is just buying the slab. No gamble, there's no waiting, no submission minimum, no surprises. A great example for me is the Sleeping Pikachu Trainer Gallery from Lost Origin. I bought this card in a PSA 10 when it was around $150. And I had all my friends tell me I overpaid for it. But personally, I believed in the card. Why? 1, it's a Pikachu. 2, the artwork is incredible. 3, Lost Origin is a great set. Now, that card sits around $275. So did I overpay for it? Or did I just believe in the card before everyone else caught up to it? See what I'm saying? Sometimes paying up for the slab is actually the smarter investment. Now, something that I definitely need to talk to you guys about is popular Pokemon versus random Pokemon. What I mean by this is if you're grading or looking to invest in a card, right? For example, you need to be paying attention to what the Pokemon is. I'm an Entei guy. I'm going to collect Enteis. Entei's a legendary Pokemon. He's really cool. There are a lot of people that do like him and show him love. But at the same time, he's not the most popular Pokemon out there. Popular Pokemon are things like Pikachu, Mew, Mewtwo, Rayquaza, Charizard, Blastoise, the evolutions. Now, random Pokemon, what I mean by that is you might think something's a really cool artwork, but the Pokemon just nobody cares about it. So, random Pokemon that nobody really care about, maybe they're just a part of the storyline or they're good in the game or whatever it is, but maybe they're not cool or maybe they're not popular or maybe they're not cute. So, a good example of that for me is one of my favorite cards of all time is not popular at all. The Mr. Mime from 151, the illustration rare. They are playing imaginary chess in the middle of Central Park. The idea is amazing. The card, the artwork, everything about it is phenomenal. This card, in my eyes, should be worth $300 in a PSA 10, at least. And it's worth $80. So that just goes to show that whether you love the card or you love the Pokemon, it may not reflect the market if you're looking to invest and make money on whether it's flipping a card, grading it yourself and selling it, whatever it is. Now, when I do grade cards, I'm usually hunting for them. And by that, I mean I'll spend time on eBay looking for really clean raw copies, zooming in on photos, checking corners, checking centering, looking for whitening, because sometimes sellers list cards without realizing how clean they actually are. And if you can buy a raw card at the right price and it grades a 10, that's where the real upside is. But again, it's still a gamble. Now, I'm going to teach you guys something, a little hidden secret here that I was taught to by my mentor. Shout out Nicky Cards. If you do not follow him on YouTube or on Instagram, make sure you do. He's incredible. Now, one thing he really taught me is how to do this, and this is a trade secret. So when you go on eBay, what you want to do is you want to type in the search bar, Pokemon. Now you're going to go to the filters, and you're going to change the filter to newly listed, and you're going to change the filter to buy it now. Now, what you just did is you now just filtered the entirety of that page to be eBay sellers' most recent posting. Now, why is this important? Because some people may not know what they're doing. They may not know the price. They may not be caught up with the current market trends. And they may have listed it for too low. They may have listed it improperly, whatever it is. And if you can catch that card before they either realize it or somebody else buys it, you just won. That's what people mean by eBay sniping. Now, if you see something that's a card, maybe you know it's worth $100, it's on there for $70, you also have to be wary. There are people that are doing this on purpose, so that way they make you go through all the trouble, they buy it, they cancel the order, they send you a fake card or whatever it is. So you do have to be diligent, you do have to look at the pictures, don't just buy right away blindly. So please, be careful, but now you know a little bit of a trade secret. Now, before I send a card into PSA, I inspect it pretty closely. First thing is, I'll check the corners and edges. White dots in the corners can kill a gem mint grade instantly. Second thing, centering. Modern cards especially need good front centering. The back can be slightly off, but the front usually has to be perfectly clean. Third thing, surface scratches and print lines. Now this is where people miss things. One trick I use is shining a light across the card in different angles, especially on the back, because sometimes you'll see tiny scratches or print lines that you couldn't see before. If I see a print line, I basically assume that card's getting an 8. So now when you're looking for these things, white dots, issues with cards, print lines, please take the card out of the penny sleeve and take the card out of the top loader so you can see the card and have good lighting, because sometimes you'll miss stuff. Another thing newer collectors should understand as well, vintage grading and modern grading are completely different. Vintage cards, an 8 or 9, sometimes even a 7 is amazing. That's a fantastic grade for those cards. But modern cards, modern is all about the Gem Mint 10. If a modern card comes back a 9, a lot of times it's basically just the same price as raw and you're probably losing money, which, in my opinion, makes no sense. But that's how the market works. Modern grading is basically Gem Mint or bust. Another part of grading people forget to talk about is the shipping aspect. When you send cards to the grading company, whether it's PSA, Beckett, whatever it is, those cards are traveling through the mail. And these cards are worth real money, people. That means things can happen. Packages could get delayed, packages could get lost, sometimes packages get stolen. That's actually why when PSA sends cards back to you, they require a signature on delivery. It's not to be annoying, it's to protect you because they won't just leave it on the doorstep. Sometimes those boxes contains thousands of dollars of cards. I know sometimes I've gotten shipments back of 20, 30 graded cards, and if you did the math, it's a significant amount of money. If someone just scooped it up off my doorstep, they would have made $5,000 off those cards. So shipping risk is another part of the grading that people don't always think about. At the end of the day, grading cards isn't just sending something in and hoping for a 10. There's math involved, there's risk involved, and there's belief in the cards you're collecting. Sometimes grading makes sense, sometimes buying the slab makes more sense, and sometimes the smartest move in the hobby is doing nothing at all. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something today, or just like hearing my voice, make sure you follow the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you ever want to talk cards, grading, or the hobby in general, you could always find me on Instagram at Entei's_Inferno_TCG. I appreciate you for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.